Still on the topic, the role of the youth in nation building, we have another beautiful guest with us here today, and her name is Barrister Oluwaseun Fayese. She is a legal practitioner and is here to talk with us on the topic, the role of the youth in nation building. Welcome, ma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I would take it from where we stopped with our guests before now. And then there's something he said that I'm finding not very easy to agree with. He said something very close to the youths are not ready to build the nation. We asked him to give us the statistics of how many youths right now are pushing the nation forward, how many youths are building the nation right now. And he said, not so many. We have a lot of amazing people that are doing great right now, but we don't have too many people. In fact, some people in the universities, he gave examples of, I think he went lecturing in some universities, and he said some of them don't even know. He mentioned an accounting student
that doesn't know about software or accounting.
And I'm wondering, how true is that in your own opinion?
Well, I would really agree with the caller who called in, or the guest who called in. Why would I agree with that? Nigeria is a country that has a youth population that is vibrant.
Yes.
That is large. Statistics say we have up to 70% of the population of the country as youth. So if you look at the few that are doing really well, and in fairness, we must say we have a few youth who are doing fantastic.
Yes.
Compared to the 70%, it's lopsided. There's no, I mean, we're not anywhere close a balance. It's tilted one way. So really, if we're to look by that statistic, by that yardstick, I would agree with the guest who called in to say that truly a whole lot more can be done to achieve a lot more. Any nation or any nation at all that has a large population of youth should have, development shouldn't be far from such a nation, because the youth is the engine. I call the youth the energy house, because the youth has the strength. And without that strength, there is only so much you can do. So if we can channel that, if the youth can channel that strength into productivity, into nation building, into, a whole lot of things that would fuel the
nation.
Yeah, the nation. Obviously, a whole lot more will be achieved. We'll see it on our streets. We'll see it everywhere around us generally.
Because now he made mention of the fact that, the government may not always provide the things we need and actually do what they're meant to do, in support of the youth. And he said that in Nigeria, he would term what we go through schooling rather than education, because we're not properly given the wherewithal that we need to have to be able to be competent for the roles that await us in the future. And from what he said, it was evident that, we need to take the mantle and do something about it ourselves. But, my question now is, when we don't have the finance and, some certain kinds of opportunities, say I want to start a business, and, a young person who hasn't necessarily had a history of businesses or things like that may find it difficult to get a loan. Examples like that. How do we go about showing our competencies and, beginning to do things on our own? Because, they say the youth are lazy, but really, yes, we're just, for lack of a better word, hustling, trying to find opportunities to actually make our lives better, before we grow into, impacting our nation. So can you give examples, tips, or, ways that we can get to implementing our own competencies and creating a better future for ourselves to be able to finally impact the nation without the help of the government?
Well, you said something, and first of all, I agree with you that we can't leave everything to government. Even if we were to, we have tried that for so long, and
it's not
we know what the results are saying. And we know what, if we were to project a little further we can see that what is today is not going to be far from that if we keep waiting and sitting for government and waiting on them. You talked about loans for young ones. I realized that there's a whole lot of business we're doing today that we don't necessarily need loans to start up. But most times you think that unless this money is coming, I can't start anything. Let me give a very good example, very little, and I believe this transcends to a whole lot in a bigger picture. When I was in school, right, at the time, I realized that resources coming from home wasn't going to be able to fund me through school. My parents were doing all they could, but there's still a whole lot more to be done.
Yes.
Right. So, and I couldn't leave it all to them. Take them as the government now. So I had to, plunge. I had to do something about it. So I looked at what I could do. Some form of business I could do without a loan, of course. Who would give me a loan, right? I could do without necessarily thinking of a loan and will not affect my academics. So at the time, selling of recharge cards was quite lucrative, and I realized I could leave the room, my room, and be out there, right? And while one or two members of my roommates were around, they could help with that while they're there. Otherwise, when I'm there, I could. If not, anyone who comes in also will be able to pick it up. And so, what am I trying to say? I started with as low as 500 naira, and I was able to, get half a pack of the cheapest one, and gradually it grew, So when the profits come in, I plunge it back, and then gradually I was able to make it into a whole pack, not half a pack anymore. Wow. And gradually I realized that, okay, I could take it to another network rather than just this, because I realized people come in also for other and gradually it grew. Then later on I moved from that level to something a little higher, right? Like double the value.
Okay.
Right? And started so gradually it grew. So what am I trying to say, in essence? We don't need to start on the very big scale like people think. Start small. If only the youth will realize that if you start little or start small, you would grow. We should learn to crawl first before we walk. Then before we run. Then before we fly. And then before you soar. But if we miss the steps, I'm sorry, a whole lot of things will be distorted. Imbalance and all of that. So back to your question, how we can... So I would say, first of all, the youth have to realize that starting small. We don't have to be under unnecessary pressure. There's a lot of pressure everywhere. We want to impress. Start small. Take it, one step at a time. One step at a time. You'll be able to manage you'll be able to see more easily how far you have progressed, how far, or where you need to make changes. But when you're doing a whole lot of things at the same time, you want to jump, you want to fly at the same time, then a whole lot of things, priorities will be misplaced.
Yeah.
Yes. So from the standpoint of law, as a legal practitioner, are there any laws that back up youth as nation builders that, outline and state these duties, our roles to the nation? Are there any laws that back us up?
Well, essentially, the Constitution says a whole lot about our patriotism to our nation and all of that. But whether or not, because if you ask me, what is one thing for the laws to be there, how well informed are people about these laws?
Yes.
So we don't even, the average Nigerian doesn't even know what the Constitution says about even his rights and duties to and all that. Of course, recently we're learning, it's been everywhere now that it is part of your civic responsibility or duty to vote.
Yes.
So, but before elections, we didn't hear all of that, and now the elections are over. No one is talking about that again. That is just one. So I would even say, beyond the laws that we have, how about how we personally engage ourselves in our private spaces? How do we coordinate ourselves? It's not until we get to the big stage. It's not until, yes, fine, this, the Not Too Young to Run bill, fantastic and all that. And people came out, but I would have loved to see a youth where we put in our energies into one place. Otherwise, we start at a much lower level. But everybody wants to start from the top. It doesn't work that way. Many of those people that contesting against didn't come up just like that overnight.
Yeah.
Many of them have been in the background for decades, for years, and you probably didn't hear about them much. But as time,
goes on,
they came to limelight. Yeah. But want to start just like that, it doesn't work that way. How about our local government? What we can impact, really. So really, if you're coming out for impact, we should be looking at grassroots, right? So talking about the laws, like I said, it is one thing for the laws to be there. It's another thing for us to be aware. It's another thing for us to and not implement them and do the right thing and all that. But how about let's don't forget the laws. As we interact as individuals, how much of how are we conscious to take care of our environment? How are we conscious to take care of the next person and be conscious of the other person? How are we conscious to make sure that the wastes from whatever we drink are not dumped on the roadside, and then it blocks the drainage, and then there's flooding, and then we complain. And, there's a whole lot of, a lot of things are left, a whole lot of things a lot more can be done, essentially. So my point is, we don't need to wait till the big, in that little place, in that little space. Are you taking care of it? Are you doing your bit? Right? I like to make a good example. When I was in secondary school, we had this culture where everyone comes to what we call plots, right? What the idea of plot means is that you have a portion of the school premises where you take care of. It's your responsibility, it's your duty. So you come in, so yours is here, mine is next, yours is next, and all over the school is covered. Right, so before, in 5-10 minutes,
everybody does it.
Yes, everybody does their own bits, and the whole place is clean. But when you leave your portion, it's clear that this portion. So what am I trying to say? That the little bits we can do. Let's start. Let's start. When we start, we'll see how far. But we're not doing anything just yet, or we're doing very little. If at all we're doing more, doing anything.
I like how you're taking it. I like the fact that you talked about awareness, and awareness is key. I just want to know how much of awareness is going out right now to the youth. How much of awareness? How many people are really aware? Because I know that a lot of us, we like to think that we know so much. We like to think that we have arrived. Like you said, we need to start in bits and all, but awareness is key. How much of this awareness is going around for people to actually, take in?
Unfortunately, I must tell you, in my own opinion, it's almost, I don't want to say very close to zero, if at all anything, is happening at all. I'm not sure a lot is happening, right? And you said something, a lot of us think that we know, but we don't know. That's worse. If I know I don't know a thing, right, I'd make effort to know it. But when I don't know, and I don't know that I don't know, and then unfortunately I think I know,
that's a problem.
In fact, that's an understatement.
That's worse.
It's even worse off. So a whole lot of awareness is not out there. A whole lot more can be done. The little bit of awareness even that we have is just in pockets. Like, for instance, like I mentioned earlier, the elections, when it came, we started hearing this and hearing that. For another 4 years, we probably won't hear anything like that again. So really, if we keep waiting on the government, you find out that it is only when this need arises that these things are said. And it is the portion where we'll give that you get. You don't even get to get the portion where, the other part of the bargain. So I would say that it is up to we, the youth, still to put the word out there, to encourage each other, to sensitize each other, right? Yes. To make sure that everyone is able to do their own bit, their own part, right? We know what to do and we know how to do it, and we get it done.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Do you like the video you just watched? Then you should click on the like button and move over to click on the subscribe button. Also, you should click on the bell to get notified anytime we drop amazing episodes of Tea or Coffee for you. Adios.